Hello, Creative Gems. Welcome back to Creativity. And if you're new here, I'm so glad you found my channel. So, I was surfing online recently and saw these really beautiful mirrors, and I thought to myself, wow, I would like to have one of these mirrors in my home. But of course, when I saw the price tag, I was immediately taken aback. So then I thought, how difficult would it be for me to make a similar one of my own? So I checked my crafting supplies, and this is what I came up with. I found this silver wired wreath ring in my craft supply stash. This one measures 14 inches and I got this one from the Dollar Tree. I also found this 18-inch wooden wreath ring which I got from the Dollarama. This one looks to be made from particle board, but it's pretty solid for what I'm going to use it for. Next, I found this huge platter that I was saving up, and now I know what I'm going to be using it for. I originally bought this platter from the Dollar Tree and it measures 16 inches, so it's pretty big, but it is extremely lightweight. And the best part is that it has a mirror-like finish. Now, this next piece is a 12-inch round mirror. We don't actually need this mirror, but I wanted to compare the reflective nature of this real mirror with the platter. You can definitely see your reflection in the platter, but it's slightly blurry, whereas the real mirror obviously gives a much more clear reflection. So I decided that I'm going to stick the mirror in the center of the platter and hopefully give my final mirror a more upscale look. But like I said earlier, if you don't have this size mirror, you can do without it and your platter will do just fine. If you prefer to use a 12-inch mirror though, I'll leave a link down in the description box to where you can get this mirror for a really good price online. So the first thing we're going to do is glue the 12-inch round mirror to a 12-inch round wooden pallet. This wooden pallet is from the Dollar Tree and it's pretty thin, but it will be perfect as a backing to our mirror before we adhere the whole thing to the 16-inch platter. To make sure we have a really secure hold, I'm starting with some Fix-All. Fix-All is a very strong adhesive, so as long as we allow several hours for it to fully cure, you can be sure that the mirror will stay affixed to the wooden pallet. Once we adhere the wooden pallet to the mirror, double check to ensure the two pieces are sticking together. You can see here there is a pretty big gap between the wooden pallet and the mirror, and that's because the wooden pallet is a little bit warped, which is usually the case for the thin pieces of wood you get at the dollar store. So to fix that, I'm going to clamp the two pieces together with a few of these clamps, and then we're going to leave them overnight so the Fix-All can fully cure. In the meantime, we're going to take this 18-inch wooden wreath ring and we're going to paint one side white. If you don't have white paint, you could also opt for either metallic silver or even black paint. And if you decide your mirror is going to be gold themed instead of silver themed like mine, you could also opt for metallic gold paint instead. And by the way, you won't have to venture far to find the paint because the Dollar Tree has a great selection of acrylic paints. Or if you're like me, you can just grab some leftover paint from a previous house project and use that instead. And also, your paint job does not have to be perfect. A couple of rough coats is all you need because 99% of this wreath ring will be covered anyhow. So while we work on painting this wreath ring, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please help me grow my channel by hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well so the YouTube gods will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. And the best part is, subscribing and giving me a thumbs up is absolutely free, but will make a world of difference to me and my channel. Once the paint has dried, this is what the wreath ring should look like. Don't worry about the little holes that the wreath ring has, as those will eventually be covered up anyhow, so no one will be able to see them. For now, we're going to cover up the side edges of the wreath ring with a strip of chrome car trim. This car trim is typically used on cars, but if you have seen any of the trays and mirrors I have made on my channel, you'll know that I love using this trim for my crafts as well. And if you're interested in adding this chrome trim into any of your crafting supplies, check the description box for a link to where you can purchase this. And by the way, this car trim is self-adhesive, but sometimes I also add a tiny bit of hot glue to give some extra hold. And if yours is not adhering securely, you could also add a bit of hot glue to each of the ends of the card trim as well. Now with the card trim applied, we're going to take the silver platter, turn it upside down, and apply some Fix-All to the rim of the platter. It's important to use a very strong adhesive like Fix-All or E6000 if you're going to be adding the 12-inch mirror to the center of the platter, because you want to make sure that you have a very secure hold so nothing comes apart. If you don't plan on adding the 12-inch mirror though, then you can probably get away with just using some hot glue. Here I'm applying some additional hot glue so we can adhere the wooden wreath ring to it and have the two pieces secured together immediately so we don't have to wait for the Fix-All to fully cure. When placing the wooden wreath ring over to the back side of the silver platter, you'll want to make sure the silver platter is centered as much as possible. Once you have placed the wooden wreath ring onto the silver platter, turn it over right away. If you applied any hot glue, you'll only have a couple of seconds to reposition the two pieces before the hot glue cools and sets. This is probably the most tricky part of today's craft, although if you mess it up, you could probably coax the two pieces apart and re-glue them again. Now, if your two pieces are positioned perfectly, turn them upside down again and add some more hot glue between the two pieces just for some extra hold. Then before we continue with the rest of the mirror, we're going to want to add a hook to the back so we have a way to hang our mirror once it's done. Here I have a picture frame from the Dollar Tree and we're going to cut out the hook from the cardboard backing that comes with the picture frame. It's a metal hook so it will be nice and strong. When you cut the hook out, make sure you leave about a centimeter of cardboard backing all around the metal hook. That is so we can apply some glue and affix the whole thing to the back of the wreath ring. Make sure to apply a strong adhesive like Fix-All or E6000 so you can be sure nothing will come apart when you hang your mirror on the wall. You can also add a tiny bit of hot glue like I will so the whole thing sets without having to wait for the Fix-All or E6000 to fully cure. And if you're still with me, drop me a note with the word mirror and let me know if you like to decorate your home with mirrors. And if you do, I've got plenty more mirror crafts on my channel that you might like to check out. I have made everything from mirrored trays, mirrored vases, mirrored coasters, mirrored wall decor and sconces, and mirror tables as well. And now with the hook secured, we can turn the whole thing right side up because we're now going to adhere our 12-inch mirror to the center of the platter. After removing the clamps, just double check to make sure there are no more gaps between the wooden pallet and the mirror. You can see here the two pieces are secured together tightly and there are no more gaps, so that's good. Once again, to adhere the mirror to the platter, we're going to apply a generous amount of Fix-All to the back of the wooden pallet. Just make sure you don't get too close to the edge of the wooden pallet because once you place the mirror onto the platter, you don't want any of the adhesive to ooze out. Once you set the mirror to the platter, make sure it's centered. Then next we're going to work on the wired wreath ring. It will need to be placed on top of the platter, so we're going to apply some Fix-All to the wired wreath ring where it will make direct contact with the platter. Once you set the wired wreath ring to the platter, double check to make sure it's centered properly. If not, you'll have a little bit of time to reposition it as necessary since the Fix-All takes a while to fully cure. I actually left mine overnight to fully cure. Once fully cured, you can start working on the rest of the mirror. So here I have some leftover silver ornament balls that I picked up from Christmas. Every year I pick a bunch of these ornament balls because I absolutely love crafting with them. These are the larger of the two sizes that the Dollar Tree carries, and they come in a pack of 15. Dollar Tree actually sells these in both silver and gold. I'm also going to be using these smaller size ornament balls, which come in 16 per pack. So for our mirror we're going to be making today, I'll be using a total of 102 of the smaller ornament balls, so we'll need 7 packs and we'll have some leftovers for a future craft project. To start adorning our mirror, we're going to take the small ornament balls and place them onto the wired wreath ring, so the balls are sitting nestled between the two most outer wired rings. You'll want to make sure to direct the end where the cap is and place that pointing inwards into the wreath ring. And to set them all into place, I'm just applying a tiny bit of hot glue. Don't overdo it with the hot glue either, because a little bit goes a long way. And the best part is the hot glue dries clear and dries almost instantly. And while we work on this, I would love to hear more from you. Drop me a note in the comment section and let me know if you prefer silver more or if you prefer to decorate with gold more. On my channel, if you're familiar with my crafts, I usually decorate with silver, but every once in a while I experiment with gold decor, and every time I just love how the gold looks against my silver pieces. In fact, a couple of weeks ago I made a side table with gold wired baskets, but added a tiny bit of silver to offset the gold, and I think the piece turned out really nice and so unique. And like I mentioned earlier, if you prefer a gold themed mirror, Dollar Tree carries the ornament balls in both silver and gold. The only tricky part is they only sell them in the fall leading up to the Christmas holidays, so if you decide to make this mirror, make sure you stock up in a couple of months. I think last year they started selling Christmas stuff in September. So this is what our mirror looks like so far. The one thing I had to be careful about was the spacing of the ornament balls, so you'll probably want to position them onto the wreath ring without any glue ahead of time, just so you know how far apart they should be placed to ensure you don't have any uneven gaps, or worse, left with a gap that is too small to fit an ornament ball. Now for the next round of ornament balls, we'll place them in a similar manner between the next two wiring. They will sit a tiny bit higher than the first set due to the shape of the wreath ring, but that won't matter, and in fact it will give some depth to our mirror, I think, and that will actually make it look a little heavier than it actually is. And here's what our mirror looks like so far. I think it's really starting to come together, and I really can't wait to see the final piece when it's all done. But for now, we still have one more round of ornament balls to place onto the two most inner wires of the wired wreath ring. I would be curious to know if any of you will try to make this mirror yourself. And if you do, hopefully you'll have enough of these ornament balls saved up from Christmas. If not, you could actually make a smaller version of this mirror using smaller wreath rings placed against a cutout round foam core backing. Dollar Tree actually sells the wired wreath rings in a few different sizes. 18 inches is the largest, followed by their 14-inch and a quarter, followed by their smallest, which is 8 inches. For the wooden wreath ring made of particle board, Dollarama has those in two sizes. And if all else fails, check my description box for my curated list of dollar store alternatives that you can find online for really good prices, especially if you buy in multiples. With all that said, this is what our mirror looks like now, with all 3 rows of ornament balls secured to the wired wreath ring. And now we're going to want to fill in the empty white spacing on the wooden wreath ring. For that, we're going to be using the larger silver ornament balls. For my mirror, I'll be using 34 of the larger ornament balls, so we'll need 3 packs of these, and we'll have some leftovers for another project in the future. But if you don't have any of the larger ones, you could actually continue with the smaller ones as long as you have enough of those to cover the entire white space on the wooden wreath ring. Point the end where the cap is so that it is slightly diagonal, then secure the ornament balls into position with a bit of hot glue. And if you're still with me, drop me a note in the comment section with the word mirror so I know you visited. And if you're feeling extra social today, I would love to know where you're tuning in from. I know a lot of you are from America, but every once in a while I also get a couple of you from Canada, the UK, from Brazil, Chile, and even from the Caribbean. So here's what our mirror looks like now. The mirror is still extremely lightweight even with all the ornament balls in place, but I want to put some finishing touches to the mirror. See how the edge of the wooden wreath ring has a little seam or gap between the card trim and the wreath ring? We're going to cover that up by applying a string of silver beaded necklace to frame the mirror. If you watch some of my other craft videos, you'll likely recognize these beads and know that I love to use these beads in my crafts. Dollar Tree used to sell these in silver and gold, but lately I have only seen the gold ones along with other colors. So if you have trouble finding these beads in silver, check out the link in the description box for dollar store alternatives. You can find these same silver beads online, and the best part is you can buy them in large rolls for pretty good prices. And now with the seams covered, we're going to go back in and fill up the little white spaces with some gems just to give our mirror a little extra sparkle and glam. To begin, I'm first going to apply some clear tacky glue in between the large ornament balls where there is white spacing. Then I'll apply a single clear round crystal acrylic flat back gem to where the glue is. Of course, if you want even more sparkle, you could always apply more gems to fill up all the white spaces completely. But this time, for the sake of keeping this tutorial from getting too long, I'm actually going to dial it back a bit and apply only a single gem in between the large ornament balls. And by the way, I know some of you will ask about the tool I'm using to apply the gems. It's a gem picker and it's commonly used for applying gems to your nails, but I use it for my crafts because it makes it so much easier and faster to pick up the small gems and place them exactly where I want them. The tool has two ends, a rubbery end that helps you pick up the gems, and the other end is like a metal pick that helps you move the gems around in case you need to position it further. Unfortunately, I have not seen any of these gem picker tools at any dollar store, so if you need or want one of these, I'll leave a link down below to where you can purchase it online. And with that said, here's what our mirror looks like hung up on the wall. This mirror measures 18 inches, so it's quite large, yet it is extremely lightweight and easily hangs on the wall with our homemade hook. But wait a second, we're not done with this mirror. I'm going to bring it back into my craft studio because we're going to add one more thing to it to make it really unique and fun. I have this tiny battery operated LED light that comes with a little power switch. It's a string light that we're going to weave into the wired wreath ring. The string lights will be virtually invisible until you power on the lights, which I'll show you shortly. Before you start weaving the string lights onto the wired wreath ring, make sure you have enough slack at the end where the battery pack is because we'll want to hide the battery pack behind the mirror. And we'll place it on the opposite end to where the hook is. And by the way, these lights came with the battery, and you get a lot of lights that work out to be less than $1 a piece. So they're actually a much better deal than what you would normally find at the dollar store. I don't remember exactly where I got these from, but there are very similar ones that I found online, and I'll leave a link to that in the description box. As I mentioned earlier, the battery pack will be hidden behind the mirror, and all I did was apply a little bit of hot glue to adhere it to the back. Just make sure you position the battery pack so that you can access the little power button. And with that said, here's what our mirror looks like all lit up. It's dusk right now, so the light is not as bright as it would be if it were nighttime and completely dark, but you get the idea. Comment down below with the word mirror and let me know which version of this mirror you prefer, the lighted version or the regular version without the lights. In the meantime, I hope you stick around and check out some of my other glam home decor crafts.